Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art2Life podcast. Super excited to be making some art today and talking with friend and amazing business leader, Suzi Dafnis. She runs women's leadership organization called Her Business out of Australia. And, we've been friends a long time, and what she teaches women about business, about life, I think you're going to find really, really inspiring. Suzi, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here in person with you.
Yeah, no, it's so great. It's so great. So you and PJ, your husband, came over from Australia for a business mastermind that we're both in. So this is a rare opportunity to have you in the studio. And you also made some art, which was pretty cool. How was that for you?
So I am not an artist. Well, you're probably going to counter that idea, but I don't think of myself as an artist. And so when I knew that you were going to be running an art training program for our mastermind group, I started to sweat a little bit because I thought, I don't know what to draw, I don't know what to paint, I don't know how to mix colors, I don't know any of that. And I just had a little bit of anxiety. And I'll kind of want to unpack that a little bit because I feel like it's going to be really relevant, because anytime we walk into a situation that is not our usual situation, we can get really off track and feel really out of place, and our self-worth can feel like diminished and so many things.
Totally.
And so I walked into this room with, 30 other business owners who are now going to be doing art, and I kind of shrunk my energy.
Really?
I'm usually pretty confident in my own environment, in my business environment. You can put me on a stage, you can put me on a podcast, and I'm pretty confident. But I walked in here and I kind of even shrunk physically in my seat, thinking, I don't know how to do this. And as I think I mentioned to you already, at the end of the day, because of a couple of things that I'm sure we'll talk about today, I felt far more confident at the end of it. And I actually produced something that I'm going to keep. I'm going to put on a wall.
Yeah.
It's really confident.
And kind of amazing, because I know this podcast is we're just doinking around with art material. So we're not really making anything, although we do make something. You can't help not, during this podcast. But what's especially cool is that you're like, okay, sure, I'll do the podcast. You're just signed up for more. But this is the thing. You're helping people move through business ideas, their life, their art, all of it, get their businesses going. And it's all unknown for people, and so it's great that you kind of embody that. I mean, I'm sure you have parallels to what you do, right? Like this is, if you're going to show people how to do something, you also have to be okay with stepping into something you don't know how to do, because that's what business is, or any of that.
Right. And so for me, being an artist is a big unknown. But for an artist who's really comfortable with their crochet needle or their paintbrush or their instrument, stepping into being a business owner and selling their work or branding their work or doing any of the businessy things like hiring people or finding suppliers, that's a big unknown.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the parallel for me.
Yeah.
And there's such an opportunity for us to grow into an area that is foreign to us, but as a result to really expand our own capacity and our own ability to do our work, but with these additional skills and abilities.
Right. Yeah, no. Okay, so before we get done, because we're going to riff talking, I can tell. Let's get this little art project going. So we're using acrylic paint, you guys, and this is really fun because, acrylic paint it dries really quick. It's not toxic, although if it does get on your clothes, I should have given you an apron. Sorry about that. But, so what you want to do is, the way we do this palette is, and we did it the other day. So you want to, let me give you a piece of tracing paper to put on the paper towel. There you go. So it's paper towels and it's wet paper towels with a piece of tracing paper on them. And that becomes a palette that you can dispose of. You'll probably see us do this a couple times. So, I'm just, instead of using my small sketchbook today, I don't know what I'm going to make, but I just sort of felt like doing this on this other book. This is a slightly bigger one. So that's what I'm going to be working on. But so just like we were doing the other day, so now I'll kind of coach you in how to just begin.
Yes.
You can turn to any page. This is our guest sketchbook. You can turn any page that's got anything on it.
Okay, that has nothing on it?
Anything on it. You can have something that has nothing on it, or you can start with something that has something on it. Like start with that page. That's good
Start
because
with
it's got a
this page.
thing so you can cover that up or whatever.
Okay.
And a really great way to start is just out of all these colors, which one speaks to you, right? So this is just your soul knows what it wants to make. So you just kind of have to feel into like, well, which one, you know?
Yeah, well, I went directly to this one.
Okay, so just start with that,
deep. Okay.
and then we'll get going. I don't know why I chose pink. I kind of want to do brown. And we have these paper towels, so you can, and then all these brushes over here.
Okay.
And the way that, you know, kind of entering into this is to just make a mark, right? Just get anything going.
Any size brush.
Any size brush, anything you want to do. And the thing is with this is when you start, as soon as you go ahead and just do anything on there, as soon as you get going on there, right, now you look at it and now you have something to respond to. And the mystery of the blank page is gone. You actually can look at this and your brain and all the sort of ideas and thoughts come up because you're doing something. You got to be kind of like doing something and then answers come. You can't get the answers with just looking at it. You actually, the trick is to be actually putting something on there and see how it feels or whatever. And then this idea of differences that I talked about, do what feels good there, then do something that's a little bit different, that's different than what you did there, and just start adding on the page, and we'll dive in.
I know, I just push this.
Oh yeah, so the way the water, you can do the brushes, you dip the brush in the water, and then just wipe off the paint.
Okay, got it.
And then dip it in and wipe it off. And you can throw extra brushes there. You can always use a clean brush there, and we have smaller brushes. So you can use a different brush or whatever.
You said something really interesting, which I think relates to business, which is that if you're not in motion, you can't move on.
Yeah.
Like thinking about starting a business or thinking about selling your work or thinking about developing a product or service doesn't move you as far forward as taking that first step and being in motion.
Right. No, absolutely. You have to, it's iteration. You have to kind of start someplace and then respond. And that actually isn't stressful. You know, when you have an actual thing that you're making, whether it's a business or whether it's a painting or whatever, being in a call and response, like it's more understandable, right? Instead of just being in your head the whole time.
You said about difference. Can you talk to me a little more about that?
Yeah. So we love to experience things that are new and different. We create, if we want to make our art, for example, we love making art because it's so different than what we would normally do. We love making marks on a picture. And when we do different kinds of things, if we're painting all day a certain way, and then we change the way we paint, or we change the colors, or we change our approach, or we have a conversation while we're making art, like this is really different because we're in conversation, and that is energizing because we don't normally do this.
No.
You're here from Australia and it's completely different, and that makes you feel more alive. So the whole game with making anything, making your life, building a business, and I know you know this, is where is the energy, where is the juice, and you want to kind of go towards that. And that's a process of just finding that out. So on the actual art, so it's a metaphor, right? So if I make a big shape here and it feels really good to cover up, I'm making this big thing and I'm using my arm here and I'm putting this down and it's this brown color. What feels really good is to take something that's really different, maybe this bright green, and do something, take a different size brush, a smaller size brush, and go in a completely different direction. Do something that is so different than what I did before. And so that feels like just using this green, and I'm kind of driving it around, and it feels good. It's fun. It's like I feel like I'm on I'm driving a train around compared to where I was with that brown. And what's cool is if you feel more alive when you're making this, when you're doing something that's because it's different, design is actually the contrast. Design is differences. So this also not only feels good, but it makes better. Yeah, like that's a beautiful juxtaposition between those two things. One has got this clean edge, the other's got this rough edge. Like those look beautiful together, as well as that black line looks really great. So that's, and the way you answer what Suzi just did is so different. Like nobody would do that. Like there's a million ways to answer it. You know, I did something, this green thing, but what you did, that orange thing, no one, you're going to answer it in a certain way.
Right.
This is you answering this idea. What brings you alive is different from other people. So that's kind of the idea, and you get better at it. And I'm sure I know you coach on this because I was, you know, you teach discernment. How do we choose what it is that's going to make a difference? How do we choose between, do I want to make a business? What do I want to have in it? What do I want to have out of it? What feels good? You know, and I've heard so many conversations with you talking about your business and adjusting it and adding things to it and taking things out, right? So it's all about, if you feel more alive, more fired up, then that's passed down to all those women that you're helping.
Because we do have a blank canvas with our business. What products and services? How much am I going to price them?
Yeah.
Who is my ideal client? How am I going to show up? Do I have a team or no team?
Right.
There are so many ways that we're expressing ourselves through our business, when I think about it in this context, that we really are the creator. Just as you're creating this beautiful art, we are the creator of every element.
It's the same. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I really love that.
And I was reading, I read an interview you had, and I thought it was really interesting. You, people talk a lot about like work-life balance and everything, and you have this sort of a different kind of perspective on it, and I kind of like that, because I think of everything as art, you know, but you kind of put it all together, and it's kind of, I was surprised at that. Well, it was
the balance is BS comment.
It might have been like, but you were talking about, you don't think of like this over here and that over there.
Right.
You guys, and I know because I know you both. You the way you live and you integrate everything.
Right. Yeah. I don't think about my business life and my home life or my family life and have this demarcation.
So interesting.
I really think I have this one life. I have 24 hours a day, as all of us do. And so how do I want to spend that? And sometimes it's really focused on family, because someone might be unwell, or, you know, someone might need taking care of, or I might need some self-nurturing. And other times, and I know you go through these cycles as well, it's just work, you know, for weeks, endlessly, just that focus on business. But it comes around as long as I feel alive, to your point, as long as I feel like I'm making a contribution, I'm living into my vision, I'm exploring life. I don't mind what it is, that whether I'm on a trek with you, a hike, or whether we're sitting here having a conversation, am I feeling alive? Am I feeling like I'm expressing and living what I want to do, which for me is making an impact on women business owners. I'm growing personally, my own personal development. And so, I don't know that anyone can find balance, like true balance. True balance is everything is kind of equal. I don't know anyone who's found that.
Well, it's certainly, it's seasonal, or it's for sure. That's how it is for me. All of one and then not enough of the other. Right. And, you know, you're kind of in this flux and juxtapose, you know, just trying to, you know, stay engaged. And I know when I start to lose momentum that I've been staying in a lane too long, and then I have to switch.
Oh, I love what you said there, because I mean, I've been in business a long time. I'm no
spring chicken. Tell us a little bit about your background. We kind of jumped into that.
Because I started my first in business when I was 27.
Wow.
And so I've been in business. I'm coming up to 30 years, and maybe I was 28. Coming up to 30 years. And I've had a number of different businesses. I've had 5 different businesses, both in Australia, in the US, and
just the back, like how you came into this. like
I
making.
kind of fell into this career of representing women business owners and being an educator. I actually wanted to be a teacher, but I hated the school system. It really wasn't for me. It was just too constrained, and too many rules, and but I loved learning. And so over time, I found myself wanting to create learning environments for people who didn't like traditional learning environments. And so every business I've had has had an educational bent, but not your normal classroom.
Right.
And I think there's great value in traditional education, but there's also value in what we're learning right here.
Yeah.
And so whether it's her business or my previous businesses, they've all been around helping people live the life they want through learning the skills and making the connections that they need to grow themselves as a person. I truly believe that our personal growth will lead to our business growth or our business success.
Totally.
Yeah. And so that has really been my focus. And it's had many iterations, from being a book publisher to having a live events business to, leading Australia in the early days of online training and mentoring.
Right, because they were a year behind or whatever, right?
They were a little behind. And I remember I was the second female podcaster in the country.
You are kidding.
Many years ago.
Wow.
We were one of the first organizations to do webinars. And, and it was risky to go down a different path. The day I said, okay, we are stopping doing live events and we were going to go to online events and we're just going to make a clean cut, it was terrifying. And I think anytime we want to develop a new who we are or how we show up, sometimes the old has to die.
Yeah.
It has to be sidelined in order to make that change. And so you were saying about, how we can get stuck in our ways. And I've been through that point many times where I've gone, I'm just not having fun anymore. How do I change this? How do I put a different mark on the page?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage.
Totally.
I mean, I'm looking at this piece of paper and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not making any marks.
So mess it up. Just let it go. I'll coach you out of it. But you just choose a new thing. Just go for it.
I will do that.
What I love about you, who you are, but also how you teach. I love people who are experts, but are also willing to be vulnerable. And I've seen this, you figuring out you, going through many iterations, because I've watched you develop your business, and you're just always willing to go to that place where you're just super real. And I think that's really powerful for the rest of us, for people, especially people I imagine you're coaching, because that's how they're feeling, and that it doesn't ever really totally change. I mean, I know you kind of get it better, but there's always this growth. There's always this commitment to kind of learning and going into these new areas. So I was just curious, is that the big thing that you're working with on? And I know it's mostly women, but is it like helping them envision that they can do this, or like how do you walk them through that vulnerability, or is that the thing that they're struggling with more, when they're starting?
Yeah, whether it's when they're starting or even if they've been in business for a while, we can get to a point where we've used all the tools in our tool belt and we're like, I don't know how to move past here. And I think where I really get excited is to see women being willing to set a vision for themselves that's bigger than they've had for themselves before.
Yeah.
To really start to know that more is possible for them.
Yeah.
But even if they don't know how to get there, being willing to have the vision in the first place. And so that can be anything from being willing to imagine a new sort of income, a new level of wealth in your business.
Before they have it, this is what I want.
This is what I want, just to put the number out there.
It's scary.
That can be really scary, especially if you're imagining a number that's bigger than what your spouse earns or what your parents have ever earned or what any of your friends have ever earned. And I know for me, having grown up, I'm first generation Greek Australian, working class family. We never really wanted for anything, but we also never had money to go on vacations, or we didn't have a whole lot of money. Even though my parent, dad worked really hard. He was a builder. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. But we weren't wealthy. And people like us didn't have wealth. People like us had sort of average homes, and you know what I mean? We had...
Yeah, but I mean, just that people like us, I just feel the.
Can you feel the constraint?
Yeah.
So it's people like us. And so when I started my business and I got the idea that I might want to be a successful business owner and perhaps earn more than I was earning in a job. And I started to see that as a possibility.
How did you see that? Right? Like that, because we're raised a certain way. What gave you that? What was the moment where you realized that this?
Well, part of it was having a mentor, like finding someone who had done what I wanted to do, and then surrounding myself with other people who were also on a growth trajectory, who wanted to dream bigger, who wanted to step out of their, like my future was pretty much predicted. I was going to go to school, get good grades, go to university, get married, have a couple of children. That was life. I thought I could hear my partner laughing in the background. Perhaps he was. And I think that's a great path if that's what you want. But I was kind of hungry. And I said to my dad, actually not that long ago, as a kid, how was I? He said, restless, always wanted to explore more. And so for me, when I started my business, all I wanted to do was earn some money because I'd been retrenched. And that's how I kind of got into my first business.
You were retrenched?
Retrenched.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So I was laid off. Is that how you say it in America?
Yeah, but I love that, retrenched. He's sort of like thrown back in the trench.
Into the trench.
Wow, okay, so you were laid off.
I was laid off.
Yeah.
And I had, my payout was $400 and a desk and a filing cabinet. that was my wealth.
Oh my God.
So my partner PJ and I started a business. And so for the first couple of years, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know who our ideal client was. We didn't know what our business model was going to be, exactly what we were selling. But within a couple of years, we started to find our feet, not before going backwards to the tune of $50,000, which is a lot of money now. Then it was a whole lot of money that we lost in a couple of ventures and had to crawl back out of. But there was a point where I thought, it's just a skill I don't have. I don't know how to be a business owner. But there's other people out there who weren't business owners who are learning how to do it. People with my level of education, with my level of background, with my mixed up family history.
Yeah, why not me?
So why not me? And I really started to put myself in the learner's seat about all things business, learning marketing, learning how to do a business plan, learning how to set a vision, learning how to, a little bit about numbers, which I resisted for the longest time. Numbers was not my thing. But over time, I found that if I surrounded myself with the right people, if I had the right mentors, if I developed my skills, I could upgrade my life. And there was a point where, to your point, where I started to see that I had this vision, and this is going to sound really crazy, but I had this vision of what if our business, which at the time was doing $300,000, which is a great amount of money, what if it could be $1 million business? And I kind of gulped at even having the thought. It was like, who are you to think that you could have $1 million business?
There's such an imposter thing with this.
Oh my gosh. It's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Up in a regular family.
People like us
don't do things like that. We don't have
even think like that.
So when we hit, the first year we hit $1 million in our business, we didn't tell anybody.
No kidding.
No, we told our accountant. That was it. Because there was a shame to it. Like, I'm not going to fit in anymore. I'm not going to be relatable.
This is one of the biggest things that I see with creatives, with artists. We make things, we're really sensitive. The process of art making, I think, makes you an amazing human being. But it also because it is humbling. It's hard to do. It doesn't leave you all necessarily with a ton of confidence. It doesn't set you up to think bigger in a way for yourself. It's just like, wow, this is, do you like it kind of thing? And so I so understand that like, that is such a common challenge, especially for creatives.
Right, because the starving artist thing, you can say it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of cultural. Just like I said, in my culture, my background, there was a sort of a path that was considered honorable. This is what people like us do. And you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I think also within the art world, there's kind of a safety in numbers of all struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
And to break out of that, and I know a lot of artists who are thriving, and in whatever art there is, they've had to mentally break out of it's okay for me to make great art and have a great business and be able to sell my work and be able to price things at a higher price and to be able to be visible. Like all those things.
Yeah.
It starts up here, right?
It absolutely starts up there. Like none of that's going to happen. I mean, it's hard to pull it all off, but it's certainly not going to happen if you can't imagine it, if you can't think. And that's where the coaching comes in. And that's what's so beautiful about what you do. You're holding the vision for people till they can hold it themselves. Because once you hold it, then it can start happening.
Yes, because it happened for me. And I have nothing more in my skill set or my background or opportunities or resources than anybody else had.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe, I mean, I see so much potential. Like you said, that's what I love to do. I see the potential in the business. I see the potential when someone comes in and they're really great at their craft or their art, but they don't understand numbers, for instance. And I'll hear them say, oh, us creatives aren't good at the numbers. And I'm like, okay, well, let's have a look at that. You've got 5,000 followers on Instagram. You get 1,000 people into your challenges. They're numbers. So now how do we turn that into dollars in the bank?
Yeah.
That's the missing piece.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Okay, well, how much are you going to charge? What's the profit in that? How many people do you need to get that money goal? Just even breaking things down. Like if I want to have a $50,000 business, a $100,000 business, a $250,000 business, how many of what do I need to sell to whom to make that happen? It sounds really simple, but we don't think that process through.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I put dollars to my fine art practice. The way I did it, it was really helpful actually. I took my art and I timed myself, you know, how long would it make, you know, I was doing it for a painting for a show and I timed myself and this painting, and it was all over the map. Sometimes I could make a painting in 3 hours. Sometimes it would take 23 hours, you know, but they were all different. But at the end of the day, I made 10 things and it took X amount of hours. And then I tracked how much the work sold for. And I tracked how many paintings, what percentage of the work that Nick makes sells. That's sort of like my batting average, you know, and it was pretty good. It wasn't 90%, but probably 6 or 7 out of the things I make sell. And you can actually, figure that out. Like that's your conversion rate. And it's weird to think about it that way, but even just with me doing whatever I do, there's a common, there's a number. That's just what, you know, that amount sells. So then I could work back and I could figure out what I was getting paid an hour for doing this. Yeah. Even for the ones that didn't sell, that was built into it because 3 or 4 of the things I make don't sell.
But you still put the time in.
Yeah, but I still put the time in, which I love doing all of it. So it was just, and then I could see improvement. And then I could say, well, if I'm making $60 an hour making art and I need to get some help, I can get someone at $20 an hour. But to your point, it took something that was as wild and weird as what we're doing and grounded it in a language and in a world that related to paying for rent, paying for things. You know, it was actually a job in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that, you know, you can make the best art in the world, but if your goal is to actually be able to pay the rent or pay your mortgage or buy that beautiful vacation, then we need to just get real with ourselves and say, well, I need to develop some other skills.
Yeah.
Or I need to surround myself with people who have those skills. And I mentioned earlier, numbers was not my thing. I could market, I could do a bunch of other things. I was good at systems and planning, but numbers wasn't my thing. So I had to bring people around me who could help me understand the numbers, project forward, well, how many do I need to sell of what? And then at the end of the month say to me, well, here's what it looks like now. So how did we do? What do we need to tweak? Do we need to be charging more? Is that line of products just not selling? So stop doing that.
Right.
But this is, so do more of that. Or
exactly.
Just actually getting adult around our businesses. Like if we're in the business of selling art, then we want to be wearing our business hat as often as we're wearing our art hat.
When folks come in, when women, I guess, you start working with women, what are the, here's what I experience, because I work with a lot of women. There's more women who are interested in learning art, at least in my world. And one of the things that you were saying if they can get a vision, like that's a big step for themselves, right? Because they help. I mean, it's mass generalization, but their women tend to help others a lot, whether it's their kids or whatever. But now this is they're coming back to more of the self.
Yes.
Is that the case for you too? Like, yeah.
Absolutely, because women, no matter how progressed we think we are, still often carry the load of family or care for elders, or they're often taking care of other people. And our vision for ourselves and our lives, like in the end, we start life kind of on our own and we finish on our own. And so I think that we want to have a vision for what do I want my life for me to be, without consideration really for everyone else. But I don't mean that we're not going to consider our family.
Of course not,
but until we know what we want for us, I think that we can stay in resentment around what life looks like because we're not living into what we want. So let me go a little further with that. So say you're an artist and you are doing your art. You may have a goal about a show you want to do. You may have a goal about how much income you want to earn, or the type of art you want to make. Like getting clear on why am I doing this? Having your vision is really about your why. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
For me, when I got into, I remember being at an event and a woman was interviewing business owners about why they do what they do. And I said, sure, I'll be interviewed. And we sat just like this, a little closer. And she said to me, why do you do what you do? And I said, well, I love education. I love creating environments for women to learn. And she said, that's great. She made a note on her notepad. And then she said to me, why do you do what you do? And I said, oh, okay, well, I don't have a university degree, but I've done pretty well in business. And so now I like sharing that with others who want to grow their business. She said, great. She made a note in her notebook and she said, so why do you do what you do? And I'm like, she's not listening.
Yeah.
So she asked again and again till my eyes started to fill with tears. And she said, what is that? And she gave me a big oversized Post-it note, one of those big yellow ones, and a marker, a Sharpie, and said, write that down. And I wrote down, I want people to be free. But who did I want to be free? I wanted to be free.
Right.
And so I was doing what I do to allow others to be free.
Yes.
And so for me, my heart is around giving women the tools and support they need to know that they can be free of salaries, employers, limitations if they use their business as a vehicle to be free.
Yes. That's the why. That's what's under all of this. That's why you're here. That's why Suzi's here on this planet to teach.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And so for each of us, though, there is that vision. And sometimes it takes someone else to help you see what that is, to really uncover that.
Yes.
And I know that's what you do with your work. People uncover why they're here, what they're here to do, what they're here to express. And I feel very behind them.
Okay, well, just go. You can take a big brush and go be free. So this is perfect segue. Now, what would it feel like to be free in this? Which means you get to go anywhere you want on this thing. I can even go on these other pages. Yeah, and you can cover stuff up and. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so my why is. I want people, for sure, the freedom part, but it's, I love making people see what's possible for themselves. Because I was like you, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted things in my life, and I didn't really truly believe it. And I waited a long, long time to actually, I was forced to actually step into what I truly wanted. And then once I did, I couldn't believe it. And then I started teaching about how easy or how possible this is, because I love that process of somebody seeing, and with art, you have an artifact of like, wow, I'm improving, and you can see the progress. Yeah, I think understanding the reason we're doing what we're doing, and the closer we can get what we do in our life to the real, true reason we're here, or we feel it. But that can take time, right? That's not obvious.
No.
Right? Like, it wasn't obvious to me for decades.
No. I was trying to pay my bills.
Yeah.
That was the greater purpose was be able to, pay the rent this month.
Yes.
But as I went on, it's like, well, I'm here on the planet for as long as I'm here. what is going to make the biggest contribution to me and what's going to make the biggest contribution to others. For me, contribution is just a big value of mine. It's not for everybody because, the contribution could be to your bank account. It could be to your, your family or whatever it is. But for me, part of what I want to do is make a contribution to others. But it didn't come quickly. So now one of the things that we do inside of her business is one of the first things we do is, what is your vision? What is your long-term vision? But also, what is your 12-month vision? Like, let's just bring it down. What is your 12-month vision? We call it your big kahuna vision. I'm a big fan of Hawaii, and the kahuna is the chief, right?
Yeah.
So what is your chief vision just for the next year? Is it a money goal? Is it that you want to introduce a new product or service or line of art? Is it that you want to rebuild your website? Like, what is it that if you did it in the next 12 months would revolutionize your business?
Or your life,
or your life. And we go from there. We go, okay, that's the big kahuna. How do we now line up what we do every week, month, quarter, so that you're moving, so that in 12 months' time we can be celebrating that you've got that big kahuna goal.
Yeah. And even saying it is scary because we don't necessarily, if it doesn't come to pass, then we don't want our friends to say, you wanted a thing, you didn't pull it off. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
30 years on, and we just spent the last 2 days together in our mastermind, and that looks really cool.
Yeah, this is a fun thing. Talk about driving around.
And I was in tears part of the time because we just did a promotion. It didn't go as planned at all. Right?
Oh, right.
I
know.
I should know how to do this by now.
Yeah.
I've been an artist for 10 years. I've been in business for that many years. I've led teams. How can I still be messing up? And it was really, what was really cool was having others around me. It's like, you're not alone.
No,
you're not alone.
The group is everything.
Yeah.
The community makes everything possible. I'm such a great believer in that.
Right, and you have such a beautiful community, as do I. I love my community. I wake up every day and I do what I do for my community.
Now,
I love it so much.
Like, do you work with women? I mean, we have lots of listeners, in Australia. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks in Art2Life are living in Australia, but do you not work virtually with anybody anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm based in Australia, so a lot of what we do is in Australian time zones. And so most of our members are in Australia, New Zealand, but we have a number of women especially on the West Coast of America. But because of the times in which we do things, it can be a little trickier to participate live in some of our work, but you can be pretty much anywhere.
And you do masterminds, you do, different levels. I believe your sort of entry level is helping business owners get to that 6-figure level or above, right? And that's kind of just starting the whole thing, but then you work with women at a higher level in your mastermind.
Yeah, right? Because I feel like that first 6 figures, now we've replaced a salary or we're ahead of where we might be if we were working for someone else in most cases. So you can have a successful $100,000 business just working on your own and having some systems in place, having a little bit of a plan, knowing a little bit about marketing. But if you want to go beyond that, or when you hit that point, then you're likely going to need some external help. Or you can at least start to think about, now I can afford to perhaps someone do my marketing.
Yeah,
social media.
And you're not driving to work. You're not doing all the things. You have that freedom. That's huge.
Yeah, and that takes a little more resources. And so when we think about growth, I think if we start to think about what's the sort of business I want to have, and if I want a more leveraged business, then leverage means bringing other people into our business. And both you and I know what that's like, right? We can think, I'm doing just great. I'll just work a few longer hours and I'll work weekends and I'll work whatever. But the key, in my experience, to success is bringing other people around you, whether that investment is in peers and peer mentoring, whether it's in mentors, whether it's in outsourcing, or whether it's in bringing people on team. One of my mentors taught me that business is a team sport. Even if it's just you, who else do you have around you?
Yeah.
Do you have a good bookkeeper? Do you have someone who can do the bits in the business that are really not, you're not very good at? There's a lot of things in business that I'm not very good at. And so I don't want to do that. And if I'm an artist, I want to do my art. Or, I want to find that next strategic alliance or that next collaborator. I may not want to be doing the books.
Do you get a lot of people that are makers or create a product, or is it more?
It's mostly service businesses. But we do have like people who do beading, crochet, jewelry, not so much fine artists. Or artists in this way. But women who are makers. And they come to us not because I know anything about art, but because they want to know about the business side.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Because they want to, they want to know how to put together a great website, how to drive traffic to that website, how to hire their first person, what questions to ask their accountant. All those things.
When you say all those things, it's like it takes me back, and God, I just did it. For me, I just didn't ask soon enough. I did it all myself, and it took forever. I would look at what people would do. I would ask some, but I never got the coaching. I never did that. And I'm such a believer in that now, because there's no way you can know all the things. But I think because artists, it's a real hands-on thing, and it's our thing. So we tend to put that thinking onto everything else we do. It's like, well, I do it my way. This is my way. This is my thing. I don't want to, this is how I do it. This creates the value. But that same thinking, when you apply it to a career, it doesn't work. Because it's too myopic. It's
too, it's very narrow thinking. I really believe we can only expand to the level, our business, to the level that we expand ourselves. And that expansion comes when we get that other input from other people, from allowing ourselves to be supported. And I think when you are a maker, it's not a transferable skill like something else might be. So, for example, if you're a bookkeeper, you can bring in another bookkeeper. You're pretty much going to do books the same way, do your numbers the same way. But if you're an artist, how do you leverage yourself? But you figure that out, Nicholas.
I do things differently, and I'm visual, and I tend, my Google Calendar is really colorful, and but it's definitely things I've had to learn. I've had to learn how to organize things, because if you want to make something, if you want to do this, you don't get to just, I needed to pay for the studio and the light to support the work, so I could make more.
And so you could help more people.
And that's true. That's totally, having that as a, beyond my own fine art, having that, that kind of really contagious, energizing input of being around people that are dreaming bigger for themselves, wanting to just to expand, to grow, to lean into what they feel, even though they don't necessarily might not know what it is they're here to do. And that's so inspiring.
Because only I can do my art, but the opportunities in community. And that's what you and I both, you have a wonderful community. I love my community. And each of us is going to, at the end of the day, run our business or run our art or do our work kind of on our own. But the power is in being around others, in tapping into that support, in getting ideas from people who are doing things so differently to what you are. And I think that's how we grow as humans. And I think that, but we need to plant ourselves into those environments. Like I can be on my own, growing my own business in isolation, feeling like there's an echo chamber. Every time I need something, I'm like, is there anybody out there?
Totally.
Plant myself somewhere where there's someone. And I had that experience just in the last couple of days with our mastermind group. Of saying, I'm stuck on this. How are you doing that?
Yes.
Would you be willing to give me 5 minutes to tell me how you're doing it? And then my life is richer. My knowledge is expanded. I feel more confident because I know I don't have to struggle on my own. What I do here on this page, I might be doing it. But how I grow my business, how I expand my life, that is around the connections that I have. And the connections aren't just going to land in our lap. In my experience, we have to put ourselves, create the conditions for those connections to happen, for those connections for us to learn, for our connections to do business with others. it's really hard to do it in isolation. And I know for me, the first couple of years, I was going to work it out on my own. I didn't need anybody's help. I would read all the books. I would do that, but I was going to do it on my own.
I know that.
And that wasn't working.
Yeah.
It really wasn't working.
I know you do some, you create some in-person events.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And Kauai or Hawaii?
In the big island of Hawaii, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Is that, it must be great to be in person. Like, that's fun, but.
Yeah, so for 13 years, my partner PJ and I had an in-person events business, and we would represent different speakers and authors in Australia, New Zealand, and then in the US. So we were doing in-person events all day, every day, across a number of countries. And after 13 years of that, I got kind of burnt out. And what was happening at the same time was the growth of online was happening. And so after being burnt out, when I saw this opportunity to be able to connect with people online with visuals, and this is even before Zoom, I thought, wow, you know what? I don't have to pack my bag and go to a hotel room. Let me try this. But to what I was speaking about before, we went from being an online business to saying we are not doing any more online events. We're going to give this, offline events. We're going to give this online thing a go. And in the beginning, like, no one knew what the heck we were doing.
Yeah.
And I remember running our first webinars, and it was 2006. And people saying, where do I go? And we go, don't go anywhere.
Stay there. Yeah.
I'm going to send you a link and you're going to join it. And so then for a number of years, we just did online till we got really good at doing online.
Yeah.
Just like when we develop any new skill.
Sure.
We have to go deep into it.
Sure. And so now you can reach people anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world, which is so powerful and really served us, especially during the pandemic. But there's nothing like being in person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
So a few times a year we get together with people, and one of the things we've been doing the last 5 years is taking women to Hawaii for what we call our Reach Retreat. And as the name sounds, it is really about reaching new possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah. So we really start with reflecting on how we got to where we are now, the good, the bad, the ugly that got us here. And then when we've done that and we're in present time, then we start to envision. And we have a great process that we do there over the course of a number of hours and days. And then when we start to envision, now we need to fill in the gaps, because it's great to have a vision, but then what are the steps to getting there?
Yeah.
And so we do a business plan unlike anything they've done before that steps them back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we go, okay, great. So who and what do I need to connect with to now make this happen? And we look at, where am I not connected to myself? What connections do I need in the real world?
Wow.
And then the final part of, because REACH is an acronym, is hero. How do I hero this vision that I've created?
Yes.
And who do I need to be, like, in order to step into that? Because so much of what we create is not just what we're doing, the physical movement, the painting, it's who are we being?
Yeah. Who are we becoming?
Who are we becoming?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know that to be $1 million business owner, I had to be someone who could have being $1 billion business owner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if we can't have the things that we say we want, we can talk about as much as possible, but if in our being we can't actually be comfortable with that, then we're not going to get there.
It won't happen.
It won't happen.
Yeah.
And it can be that is the transformation in being able to step into being an established artist.
I love it because it's like the feeling of what you want has to occupy you in a way.
Yes.
And this is the same thing in art. Like you can't forecast it, you can't picture it, but you can sense the feeling, I believe, of what you want to make. What's the feeling of it? But it's really helpful to have that, because then you have a way to say, is this in or out? And wow.
Because once you can see it, and then it's like, who do I have to be to have that?
Yes.
And that's a very different question. We don't often ask ourselves that. It's, what do I need to do?
No, I love it.
Right? And so that the idea of be, do, have, people often think, have you heard that term? Be,
yes,
do,
yeah.
And people think that's the way it goes. Be, who do I need to be, what I need to do, and then I'll have what I want. But the way I think about it is, what do I want to have first? What do I want to have? And that's going to determine who do I need to be and what do I need to do.
All right. To make this possible.
To make it possible.
Wow.
And so I have to step into that way of being, but things we get to make it up. So I can say, for me to have a business that supports women to be free, then I need to step into being a leader.
Yeah.
I need to step into being a generous ruler.
You need to come on a podcast and do art, even though you don't do art.
Even though it's, I've still got this big bit here that has nothing going on. I need to step into
right. Like just
who do I need to be?
Yeah.
And then once I decide, that's who I need to be, then determine what I need to do. Because if I just start on the doing without that direction of where am I heading towards, I'm spinning my wheels a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Great.
Wow. So before we kind of wrap up, I'm just curious if people, I know your business is called Her Business, right? And if they want to reach out to you, like how do people see if this is something they might want to learn? Like where's an entry point for somebody?
I love that. And I would love to support as many women as possible. So I have a podcast called Her Business.
That's right. And we'll have links in the show notes, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And then if they just go to herbusiness.com, we have a blog with lots of articles. We often run free events. We have a free group. We have all the things. You'll find us at Her Business on Instagram, on Facebook.
Okay.
And then please just DM me, just reach out to me if there's anything that you heard here today that you feel, I want to ask Suzi a question about that.
Yeah.
I'm just here to support.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to do that. And I'm just so honored to be able to be here with your audience.
Yeah, no, well, we, artists and business, and it's, there's a lot of possibility, because again, this area, creativity and making art and making business, it's not common knowledge that you can use the same tools, that it's this visioning. And I love how you approach business, this idea of the vision, leaning into it, feeling your way, finding your way as you go. But it's really, really great. So listen, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, you guys, there's links in the show notes. Feel free to reach out to Suzi. She's got amazing advice, help, and you're just an inspiration. So thanks so much.
Thank you
for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
It's been fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys, and before I go, I just want to remind you once again that we've announced our destination retreats. They're going to be in October. They're 8 days, 7 nights, and this year we're going to Morocco and Mexico. These are designed to cause a really powerful transformation, a shift in your thinking, and ultimately your creative expression. It's all about finding the truest version of you using art. You'll be with an amazing group of like-minded creatives. A lot of the spots are taken already, but we still have room, and these are so much fun. We will be having great connecting talks. The food's extraordinary. They're in beautiful places, both of these. And I'll be there, obviously. I'll be bringing my creative team of coaches and facilitators. And it's just about deepening your awareness and connection to your truest self, which enables stronger, more authentic art and life. You'll be making a ton of art. And so if you're interested, again, artlifedream.com, check it out. And thanks so much. Okay.